perspective, the scheduling is where I get murdered. Like, because it's just, you don't know what's coming at the same time, but I'm hearing you say you have it all on board and you're planning on stuff in the future.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I haven't got that one down yet. I'm still working on that one.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
That's a skill.
Pre-planning. Unfortunately, I was doing all this by myself at one point, and I think, I was just scared to like step out and bring somebody else in because I didn't think that they would do it with the same passion, and it's not theirs. So, and then I was worried about money. I'm like, man, am I gonna be paying somebody too much to do this when I should just do it myself? And I had to release that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a big Achilles heel for me for a long time. Just wanting to do it myself because I'm thinking I'm saving money, but I was limiting myself in the amount of work that I could get done if I had brought somebody else in, right? So once I opened myself up to that idea and I actually did it and I hired a superintendent, it felt like the weight of the world was off my shoulders. Now I can fly, you know what I'm saying? I went from building 5 houses to 25 houses in 1 year. Wow. Because I was able to focus on getting the permits approved, getting everything I needed to take care of that part while he was in the field pushing the construction, making sure things were getting done.
Julius, I came to the realization that I could hire people that were better than me.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you?
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Could you talk about that a little bit? Because my dad was always say, if you want it done right,
yeah, you got to do it yourself.
And I'm like, that is the worst advice you can tell somebody.
Yeah.
If you want it done right, hire the guy that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Go.
That's right. Yeah, man. I mean, my situation worked out really great. I feel like, listen, I'm absolutely blessed, right? Because I have great people around me to help me get this stuff done. But the person that I hired, he happened to be the building official for the city of Norfolk. Wow. So he was in charge of everything down there at the city of Norfolk when it came to building codes and compliance, right? He was the head guy. All of the inspectors that come out here in the field, they all worked for him. And this man forgot more about construction than I know. And fortunately, he retired from the city of Norfolk. We had become friends over the years. And he said, he got into a situation in his house. He needed a hand. I helped him out. And we got to talking. He said, Julius, man, if you ever need a hand out there, man, I'm retired. I ain't doing nothing. And I'm like, man, okay, let me think about that. And I avoided it, right? I didn't take him up on the offer initially. I was just like, man, I can't afford to pay this guy, man. I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? I need as much money in my pocket as I got 2 kids getting ready to go to college, man. I need all that money. But I was like, one day I had gotten a bunch of permits approved at one time. I'm like, man, how am I going to do all of this stuff, right? Yeah, it's like, man, how am I going to manage doing all this? It got crazy. It was like,
that's impossible, right? It would be a little. Could you manage?
Yeah, it is to do it effectively. I would have finally muddled through it and got it done. But I mean, like, I would have killed myself doing it. I wouldn't have been able to spend time with my family. I wouldn't have, I would have sacrificed a lot, And so I called him. I said, JJ, man, I take you up on that offer, man. He said, yeah, man, I told you, give me a call. And we've just been rolling ever since then. He's just been a huge, huge blessing to me, in the way of helping, the groundwork and getting things moved forward out in the field, which allowed me the opportunity to sit down with, my wholesalers and my real estate agents and find the next project. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm not stuck here doing this. I can move now, and so that's helped out quite a bit.
So I want to talk about drawings from the start, and then we'll get into city interfacing, which I wish you could transfer some of that grief onto some of the people here for dealing with the city. I'm sure it ain't easy to do.
Not at all.
Let's talk about drawings, Jay, because what I have done, I've done some new construction, and it has taken me months to get these drawings done. And I want to talk about it from survey, site plan, all that, house plan. Talk about it a little bit. Sure.
Well, so it starts with the property itself, right? And understanding the makeup of the property. So, not every lot is a perfect square or rectangle or whatever. Some lots are oddly shaped. I have a few of them right now. And so once you have what I like to call a canvas, you have this property, then you have to kind of figure out what you're going to put on it, right? And that's where your architect comes into play, because there's two people that are super important in this process, which is your architect and your surveyor, right? Those two guys tell you what you can and can't do with this property and what you can build on it. So initially, what I will do is contact my surveyor to make sure that he understands the lay of the land, so to speak, that this property is in fact shaped this certain way, and you can put a house on it, but you need to talk to the architect and let him know that he needs to construct something that is within these confines, whether the house is 20 foot wide by 40 foot deep. He'll know that based off of what they call setbacks, right? Each property in every city has what they call setbacks. That is a space of land from the property line inward that you cannot build in, that they do not want a permanent structure in, right? So just say, for instance, in Norfolk, generally a conforming lot is 50 foot wide by 100 foot deep, 5,000 square feet, right? And that's just a basic property. I mean, they come in all different shapes and sizes, and we can get deeper into that. But a 50 by 100 foot wide lot.
The square footage.
Right, the square footage of the property itself, 5,000 square foot, 50 foot wide by 100 foot deep. In that 50 foot width, they have what they call side setbacks. Those side setbacks in Norfolk are 5 feet, right? So from the property line, the actual property line, which is 50 foot apart from each other in width, you subtract 5 feet from this side and 5 feet from that side. That's the envelope that you have to build within right there, right? And then they have the same thing for the rear and the front setbacks, which are usually much longer. The front setbacks are generally 20 feet, the rear 20, 25 feet, whatever that is. So now that gives you this buildable pad that you can put a house in. And you want to utilize as much of that space as you can, right? So if that only leaves you with if you take 5 and 5 off each side, that leaves you with 40 feet, then you want to build a 40 foot wide house. Or generally, some people won't go that far. It just depends on a lot of other variables that we can get into later. So now you have the building envelope. Now you're talking to your architect saying, hey, look, I need a house that fits whatever that building pad is. The architect will give you a set of plans based off of that, right? The plans are super important because obviously they detail the construction of the house, what it looks like, what the floor plan is, and all your different measurements that you have on your plans. And I always say this, nobody should know your plans better than you, right? A lot of people see these plans and they see all these numbers on it and they see all of this wording and the notes and they don't read them, right? Because they just rely on, give the plans to the framer and he'll know what to do. That's not altogether wrong, but at the same time, you need to know those plans, right? Because there's always a lot of details and notes in there that sometimes they'll miss and you'll pay for it, right?
Give us an example, Julius.
Well, I mean, just say for instance, this has happened a very long time ago, but I had a set of plans and the plans it gave you options of how you can design your master bathroom and it actually gave you an option of how you can design the kitchen, right? One of the options for the kitchen really wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing option. It kind of sectioned the kitchen off from the rest of the house. And in this day and age, you want that open floor plan. You want that, to give it a more spacious feel when you walk in the house. And this didn't do that. And so me not paying attention to those options, the framer just built the house and chose the option that was on the plans instead of looking at the other two options that were in the bottom of the notes. And I didn't look at them and I didn't tell him which one I wanted. So he went with the one that was on the original plans. And so unfortunately, by the time we did it and it was all framed up and I paid any attention to it, it was too late. And the real estate agent came in and said, man, this looks odd. Why did you do the kitchen like this? I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, that's the way the plans were. And we got to looking at the plans and the real estate agent noticed it. It's like, no, you could have did this option right here. And I'm like, oh my God. So it just, eventually we sold the house and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm saying it just didn't look right. And it was because I didn't pay attention to the plans. I didn't read the plans thoroughly enough to understand that I had options, of doing it the way I wanted. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have a saying, no one cares about your house more than you.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. I mean, it's, it's yours, and and you should know it. Know those plans. So, anyway, once these two guys get their heads together and you get a set of plans. Now, one thing for me is I've been fortunate enough now to deal with two architects I've been dealing with for years. They know the style of houses I like to build, and they, so life is a lot easier now. But, building these relationships, like we were talking about earlier, with your architect and your surveyor are super important, because these guys are probably two of the most vital people in this process, right? So you get your plans, and you get once you get your set of plans, you have to provide those plans to the surveyor, because now he has to develop what's called a site plan. The site plan is more extensive than a survey, a physical survey. A physical survey is just a basic layout of the land, its measurements, and that's it. But a site plan is actually a development plan that shows the house that you want to put on it. It shows the footprint of the house. It shows you the direction of the water runoff and the drainage from the property out to the street. It shows a lot of detail, where your sewer and water lines are located in the street, where your power is located. In this day and age, they want a lot more detail on the plans, especially in cities like Norfolk, where you touched on it earlier, where you had to add trees to the property. Yeah. They want a canopy count, where you have to actually devise a plan to figure out what size trees you have to plant on the lot. Wow. And all of that stuff is input into the site plan development. And when you provide that to the city, the zoning department is the one that actually reviews that to make sure that it incorporates everything that they need, right? So, it's a lengthy process, but it's something that has to be done, and it's super important, right? It's a requirement. So now you've got your plans in hand, you got your site plan. Once you're satisfied with those plans and the plans fit on the property, you have to
pick your house, though, or you already picked the house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. How do we get the site plans before we got to pick the house we want to get?
No, that's what I said. I said you actually take the plans that you've chosen and give those to the surveyor.
So that's 3 plans. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So that's 3 sets. We got survey, draw.
Well, scratch survey, because survey, yes, you're not really doing a physical survey of the property. You're doing a site plan, which is even more extensive than a physical survey.
Okay.
Right. So a survey, a site plan is a survey, but it's more, right? So it does provide you a survey of the property, but it also provides you all of the details about the house itself, where it sits on the property, the position of it, and all of the other things that we just talked about, So the site plan is actually more extensive than a survey.
But I'm actually, I feel like I missed a step though, y'all.
No, please, I want to make sure everybody's clear.
Step about picking the house, Jay. I mean, we picked the house already yet?
Yeah, that's what I said. The plans is the house, right?
Well, how do we know what we want to put on there? Do you pick that, or does the architect tell you that?
So I pick it, but
that's a skill from you. That's your skill,
right? And it really just based on my feeling, what I like about the house, because when the plans are provided to you from the architect, it has elevations on it, and those elevations are basically pictures of what the house looks like. It'll give you a front elevation, a side elevation, rear, and both sides, and the rear and the front. So you actually get to see what the house looks like in a drawing, right? And then it also lays out the floor plan. So the floor plan, you look at the floor plan, you see, it has a master bedroom on the first floor, which some people like, some people don't. It'll lay out it shows you the bathrooms and the kitchens and the entire house. So you get to work with that set of plans. And if there's certain things about it that you don't like, you can discuss that with the architect, and generally they can maneuver and move a bathroom here, or make a closet a little bit bigger here, or do whatever they can to make it work within the space that you have, right? And again, that space is determined by your setbacks on the property, right? So now, I'm sorry.
The buck stops with you. I mean, you look at what they give you. I just
right.
want to make sure.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I look at this. You're the one. I mean, it's not like they're making this decision. You have to.
Sure, that's right. Once I tell the architect what size house I need, then and I probably did skip a step. He can give you options. He'll give you different options. That, hey, look, I got these 4 houses that will fit on that lot.
Okay.
Take a look at them. Let me know what you think. Do you like the way that this one looks in the front? And if you do, maybe I can make the interior look like this one. He can shift and move those things around to suit whatever it is you like most about the house.
Okay.
You know, for me, generally, you know, I like a house to flow and make sense on the inside of it, right? You know, I don't want to, you know, I don't want a weird, you know, placement of the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, on the first floor, I don't necessarily want the door to the bathroom to open up into the living room when I have guests there and somebody use the bathroom and then they got, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want that door on the other side so that they come out the other way while my guests are in the living room being entertained or whatever. You know, all these little things that, you know, we all have, that pet peeves or things that you might like or not like about houses, you know. So once you decide on a house that you like, then that's the one you're gonna go with. You give that house to the surveyor, who will then place the house in a site plan for you. And then once that site plan is developed, then you're almost ready to present your documentation to the city for a building permit. Almost.
It's a lot, y'all. I hope y'all taking notes. And Julius, you making it sound like this is real fast.
No, it's
The way you talking.
fast. And forgive me if I do that, because it's fast for me now because you know, obviously I do it every day. But you know, it's a lot in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? To just try to, you know, find your way through these processes and what works best for you.